And then you start looking around for people that speak truth to power. You look around for people that are, frankly, traitors to their class. That is the essence of why I am appreciating, to a very large extent, what Tucker Carlson is doing. He has real power. He has real influence. I do believe he is intelligence. And I also believe that he has a lot of guts. And I also believe he's protected. Now, on the other side, and again, I'm only doing this not because I like Stephen A. Smith. In fact, I can't stand him, as most of you know. However, he did have Tucker Carlson on his show, which is kind of amazing that Tucker would subject himself to this. But I want you to see what happens in real time when somebody who is so desperate to be relevant in politics, because all he is a talking head, a blowhard of the worst kind of a talking head, who meets somebody who actually knows what the fuck he's talking about.
Whether anyone agrees or disagrees with you, I think, especially me sitting here talking to you, I really, really appreciate the fact that you're willing to tackle any issue, and I'm thankful for that. So thank you for the conversation. Let me ask you this, just a few more questions before I let you go. I'm thinking about the Nick Fuentes interview, for example, and I wanted to transition a little bit to this because, you know, I'm wondering about where the line is between exposing extremism and normalizing it when you have somebody like him that you had on your show. I remember people were criticizing you. I didn't watch the interview. I saw, you know, clips of it, but I didn't watch the whole interview in its entirety. And I remember people accusing you of being quite soft on him, even though I can't imagine you being that guy. But that's what they were accusing you of. And they were saying stuff like that. But we know some of the things that people have felt he said and some of the positions that he has taken. From a generic perspective, extremism compared to normalization, where does Tucker Carlson draw that line in the sand, particularly considering the position that you're in now and the kind of influence you wield?
I think it's really important not to normalize extremism and to call it out by name and to say, to just frame this correctly, like what you're saying is crazy and extreme. I think it's super important to say that because otherwise it's like, oh no, this is normal. And I think one of the most extreme human beings I've ever met in my entire life was Lindsey Graham. And I would say maybe the second most extreme I've ever met is Ted Cruz, both U.S. senators. Lindsey Graham unfortunately passed away recently. Ted Cruz still represents Texas. These are people who have called for murdering innocents at scale, bombing people who did nothing wrong, killing kids, and have done that for like decades, who have openly called for the U.S. government and American citizens to be more loyal to a foreign country than to their own, who have called for banning Americans' right to criticize a foreign country, eliminating free speech on behalf of a foreign nation. You can criticize your own country, totally fine. You're not allowed to criticize a foreign country. That's so crazy that I can hardly believe it's happening. And nobody said.
When I see Tucker Carlson, when I see Marjorie Taylor Greene, when I see Thomas Massie going after cleaning up their house, if you will, in a way that you just do not see in left politics, it's deeply disturbing. There are plenty of Democratic senators that maybe don't give the ick factor, quite like Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz, but you better believe that when it comes to, let's just say, Chuck Schumer and John Fetterman, they're just as evil. They may not have been around as long, but you're not going to hear anybody. I didn't hear anybody in the Democratic Party establishment truly go after the sick son of a bitch that is Governor Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania. This is a guy who not only openly supports Israel, full stop, but likes to sign bombs while he's at it for both Ukraine and Israel. I never heard anybody of the stature of Tucker Carlson go after him the way that he's going after Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham. Why is that? Why is that the reliance so very often has to come from what is considered the conservative side? Why is it that they always seem to understand that when push comes to shove, you have to fight? And that's why I think a lot of people are attracted to their, not necessarily ideology, but the silence of the Dems. Just like I said earlier, you all who, I'm sure there's plenty of political aficionados that are in the chat this evening. We've had an amazingly sizable crowd tonight, which is great. We're very, very grateful for all of you that have been here. But I want to keep something in mind here, very important. No one is willing to get out of line if it means that it's going to affect their career, especially in the Democratic side. On the Republican side, we see it all the time. We see the courage of the conviction. And I don't like Nick Fuentes. I understand why people follow him. We've pointed that out many a times before. But kudos to Tucker for sidestepping the bullshit question out of Stephen A's mouth and redirected it, as a savvy Politico would do, to something that's more tangible and more important. But you wait and see how Stephen A reacts to this.
So you'll go and you'll interview Lindsey Graham, or I interviewed Ted Cruz last year, and people are like, oh, no one is like, I can't believe you're sitting with that wacko extremist Ted Cruz, who's literally called for murdering people. And by the way, has helped murder people. He's a United States Senator. He's not a podcaster. He votes for things. He appropriates money. That guy has blood on his hands, the blood of countless innocents, but it's totally cool to sit with them. How does that work? I don't understand. Not one person has ever said, I can't believe you sat across from Ted Cruz. He's a murderer, which is true. But because we're so
you're calling the Senate. You're calling a senator.
Brainwashed.
Hold on, Tucker. These are political officials you have known, just like you've known Trump. You've known a lot of guys on Capitol Hill. You've interviewed a lot of them. You've talked to a lot of them. You used to be on Fox News with your top-rated show at 8 p.m. after you succeeded Bill O'Reilly.
You are such a hack. Why does anybody like Stephen A. Smith? I've been asking that question for 25 years.
Talk to these folks all the time. And now here you are on this show. You're calling them a murder. You're calling a guy like Senator Ted Cruz a murderer.
Well, it's true. Ted Cruz is calling for the killing of innocents and funding it. And so what I'm actually calling for is not...
I mean, do you see the look on Stephen A's face? He looks like he's gonna explode. Not because he's angry, but because, oh my God, what have I done? Why did I bring this guy on my show? I'm just trying to be part of the establishment. I don't need this kind of pressure. I don't need this trouble. Help, get him off. I can't kick him off. That's gonna look really bad. Tucker, please stop talking about how much you think Ted Cruz is a genocidal war criminal. It's really not good for the brand I'm trying to build here.
Calling out poor Ted Cruz, who's suffering, is already living in hell. And I'm not even mad at Ted Cruz. I want to awaken people to a real moral framework. So you have people who say ugly things, and great, that happens everywhere. I'm against saying ugly things. I try not to. I try not to do that. But
you just did. That's a very ugly thing to say, Tucker. I mean, to call a senator, it's an ugly thing to say, Tucker.
How much of a fucking Uncle Tom can you possibly be? How desperate are you to be relevant? Ted Cruz is possibly the biggest slime bag in all of Congress. He's a whore in the truest sense. You give him the money, he does what he's told, and he has supported everything regarding foreign wars, genocide, conflict, you name it. He has talked about his support of Israel like nobody's business. And yet, you want to get on Tucker Carlson because you don't like him referring to Ted Cruz as a war criminal? He is a war criminal. Did Ted Cruz sign bombs? I think he did. So, are you suggesting that if somebody signs the bomb, which is basically giving them the feeling of, I'm the one pressing the red button to drop them on innocent children. That's a mass murderer. And yet you're up here debating language. You're up here defending Ted Cruz against Tucker Carlson. Yeah, that's a really bad look, Stephen A. I've always hated your shtick. I always thought you were a joke. I don't know who in the hell actually thought that anything you said was of any amount of value, because it isn't. You're a massive shit talker, including to somebody who I very much admire, which is Jaylen Brown, who is a Muslim and fully supports the state of Palestine, not Israel. And you shit on that guy who was a finals MVP, mind you. And the only reason that you do this is because you want to stay in that club. You want to be relevant. You want to continue to have everyone giving you the business. I know this is going to be hard for people to hear. I am not kidding when I say this, but evidently Stephen A. Smith makes $10 million a year. Now, in this broken economic system that we live in, nothing surprises me anymore. That one kind of does, because I still don't know who wants to hear him. He is nails on a chalkboard. And this is when he's talking about sports. When he's talking about politics, he's a bigger dumbass than Laura Loomer. And that's really saying something. But you're coming to the defense of Ted Cruz. And this son of a bitch thinks he's running for office one day. That's the funnier thing. That's been floated many times. And if there's one thing we know about sports media, when they float stories, it's because they want them out there. That's how LeBron James conducts business. This is how Stephen A. conducts business. His protection racket, he thinks it'll serve him well. Who is your audience, sir? What are your ideological bends and leans? I don't know anything about you. I just know you're a blowhard. Maybe the biggest I've ever seen. And unfortunately, it pays well. And that's why he does it. And there is going to be somebody who is going to pat him on the back for defending Ted Cruz. Yeah, you can't let him say that about Ted Cruz. That's just wrong. That's just wrong. Not good. Not good. Not good. That's why they all talk glowingly about Reagan. Well, they certainly love me, and I did a lot of bad things, but because I'm a doting old man, they certainly appreciate me. No. There's a reason why I can get away with hell, because I'm a charming old bastard. Screw you, Stephen A. We'll finish it out.
First of all, I don't, because he is a senator, it actually matters. It's not ugly, it's a fact. Ted Cruz has called for killing innocents. He's done it to me many, many, many times. We'll just bomb them. Just bomb the whole city. Just blow them up. What? There are people, thousands, millions of people who live there who did nothing wrong. They have no role in this.
Ms. Cooey, I have to say, even though I did not intend to stop this video, I love your profile picture.
They have no role in a nuclear program. They're just going to work. They're little kids. That's crazy. That is extremist behavior. And he has the power to make it happen. He's a U.S. senator. So, by the way, we should get back in the media into the habit of criticizing the powerful. And I know everyone's upset about some 27-year-old gay kid, Nick Fuentes. Ooh, he says naughty things. Yeah, I agree, whatever. But who cares? What we should care about is when powerful people misuse their power to hurt the innocent. And Ted Cruz is doing that. And so are a lot of other senators. So I'm just waiting for someone to call me and be like, I can't believe you platformed Ted Cruz. I can't believe, how do you live with this? Do you sleep at night? I mean, did you shake his hand? The hand of someone who called for the murder of innocents? I can't believe you can live with yourself. I'm waiting for that moment. It'll never come because everyone's so freaking brainwashed that they think that whatever that little gay kid is.
And again, who gives a shit about whether or not Nick Fuentes is gay? I just know that Nick Fuentes is an incel and a very unhappy, angry, disturbed young man. Stephen A. Smith, like I said, As Jen likes to say, dance bojangles, they want to pay you money to make you think that this is the way. There's no community in the United States that would benefit more than the poor when it comes to something like single-payer health care. And a significant portion of the Black community is poor. And a significant portion of that community could benefit from somebody like Stephen A., who many of them trust, to say single-payer. But he never will. Because the career is more important. And this is a theme we have been touching on all night long. The career and the money is worth the blood. As the old saying goes, is the juice worth the squeeze? Apparently for Stephen A. it is. You know that old meme of Dave Chappelle from the Chappelle Show when it's the skit when he's getting married to Oprah. And he's clinging to the dollar bills. Like, oh no, I ain't letting these bad boys go. I have a feeling that Stephen A. does that quite a bit. He's got to hang on to those bills real tight.